Now with the Emergency Communication Center, and if you could introduce yourself and your colleagues and then make whatever project presentation you'd like to make.
Okay, my name's Dwayne Phillips and I'm the director of the Emergency Communication Center. On my right is Dwayne Vance. He's the financial officer. On my left is the assistant director over operations, Michelle Peterson. Behind me I have Angie Milliken, who is the acting assistant director over support, and Mark Lyman, who's here with the ECD board.
Okay.
All right, I just want to let you know that in the calendar year 2012, ECC received over 1.1 million telephone calls. That breaks down to over 325,000 911 calls and over 625,000 862-8600 calls. We also processed over 1.5 million computer-aided dispatch entries. The Nashville Emergency Communications Center continues to work with the Tennessee ECD Board on Next Generation project, and we are one of the test sites. Next Generation 911 basically means that we are moving to the digital era. And when that backbone's complete and everybody's hooked up on it, it means that we'll be able to receive text messages, pictures, and video. Because the Metro Nashville's ECC reputation, we have succeeded in bringing 2 conferences to Nashville. The Motorola Users Conference will be here in September at Gaylord Opryland, and they usually sign a 2-year contract. They have in past years, so we expect them to be here for a couple of years.
Very good.
And then next year, in 2014, the NENA, National Emergency Numbers Association, will be having its annual conference in the new convention center.
Good work.
Thank you. I also want to point out that the ECC are on track to finish this budget year under budget again.
Even for you say good work.
Good work.
Even in our overtime expenses, and this is the 5th year in a row we've come in under budget. I just want to point out, with the Premier CAD system becoming more stabilized, and we should complete the P25 radio system this year. That would make Metro Nashville public safety responders will have the most up-to-date communications possible. I know the radio system is actually being installed and maintenance by General Services, but I mention it because it was funded by the Emergency Communications District Board with money from the 911 fees. We have a couple of issues. Our current communications facilities continue to be challenging. The main center, known as the Compton site, has dispatchers and call takers on separate floors. And as you know, during the flood, that creates difficulty communicating between the two. I also want to point out that our backup facility, which is called Harding, is too small for a backup center. It had less call taker positions than our Compton site to begin with. We had to remove 2 to put in the Madison dispatch position, and we're going to have to remove 2 more call taker positions when Midtown Hills is installed. And then of course our staffing is our toughest obstacle to overcome. If we use the NENA metric system, we are presently 25 to 30 people short of for an agency of our size with our workload. This does not include the Midtown Hills dispatchers. So we're asking for 19 additional FTEs. This breaks down to 15 new call taker positions, 3 supervisor positions, and 1 more CAD administrator position. And again, this does not include the 5 dispatchers we'll need for Midtown Hills. The second half of this fiscal year, I'd like to add those 5 positions so that I can get them at least trained to be call takers before we pull people off the phones and put them on the dispatch position. And I'll stand for all your questions.
Okay, well, I got a couple. First, one of the things that we talk about a lot and that we're very proud of is that Nashville has become an increasingly diverse city, that we have had numerous people from around the world come to Nashville, make it their home. And so at any given point, there are probably somewhere well over 80 different languages being spoken in our city. And what challenges does that present to emergency communications, and how do you deal with those?
Well, we use the language line. So when somebody calls in and they speak another language, then we can switch to the language line. Now, I think I've mentioned Smart 911 several times at different places. If people that speak other languages signed up for this free service, we would be able to connect them to a translator a lot faster, because we would know exactly what language they're speaking instead of trying to figure it out and taking time to find the exact translator we have now. We use the old AT&T language line as our primary. If they don't answer the phone in like 3 rings, then we turn around and call via. So we have a one language line and a backup language system.
And then turning to the language line, you're able to access someone who can speak multitudes of languages, or
like 150 different languages I think they offer.
Okay. The Smart 911, how has that been going?
It's going real well. You know, the ECD board actually purchased that several years ago. We've been advertising it as best we can with our budget. It's a free service to the citizens of Nashville-Davidson County.
Why don't you describe a little bit what it does? I think it's worth...
Okay, anybody who lives, works, or visits in Nashville, Tennessee should sign up for Smart 911. You go on your computer, you sign up, you give them your telephone number, all your phone numbers, and then and any information that you think a public safety responder might need during an emergency, you put that information in. So if you're allergic to certain types of medicines, or those rubber gloves that the medics use, or if you have a heart condition, if you have a small child, you can put their pictures in there. You can put information about your house, where the gas lines come in, where the electric comes in. You can just put all kinds of information in there. If you don't speak English, you can put in there your main language. Then when you call, all that information is secured. It's not stored here in Nashville. We don't have access to it until you dial 911 from the cell phone or the home phone that you registered. Once you dial 911 from that phone, that information will pop up on our screen. And if we need it, we can relay it to the dispatcher, who will give it to the responders.
Okay. And so it's something that you would encourage everybody to do? And
absolutely. I have all my phones listed, my parents' phones, my kids' phones.
Okay. And so the challenge really, I remember when we announced this,
right.
The challenge is sort of a public education piece of getting it out into the public and making people aware of what's available, and then getting them to where they're actually doing the sign up.
That's correct. And just recently, thanks to Channel 3, they helped us film a public service announcement with Jake Locker doing the commentary on the Smart 911. We hope to get that finished and to the news media in the next couple of weeks or so.
Good. Well, thanks for doing that. I know that overtime has always been an issue for you all. What's overtime in the sense that I think your employees are asked to work overtime more than they probably would want to. Where do we stand on that now? Okay,
well, when I came in there, of course, we had an overtime budget problem, and I think the employees were having mandatory overtime and a lot of that. Now we've addressed this in several different ways. Michelle's been very instrumental in making sure that the overtime that's offered is given to all the employees, regardless of how long they've been here, so that some of the police dispatchers, and not just all fire dispatchers or trainers, are getting that overtime. So it's reduced some of the expenses there. She keeps a close eye on it, on how much we have. And the ECD board can't pay for overtime at work, but we're doing a lot of our in-service training during our off-duty hours, and they can help pay for the training. So that's been a big asset in reducing our overtime for the city.
Okay. And you mentioned the challenges you have with the physical plants you have, the two different buildings. How long will you be able to operate in those facilities, do you think?
Well, the plan, I hope, is to get a new building at some point where all the people are on the same floor. All the dispatchers and all the call takers are on the same floor. We would keep the Compton site, which is presently our main site, where the call takers are upstairs and the dispatchers are downstairs. We would keep that site as our backup site, and we would just eliminate the small building out at Harding that was meant for a temporary site to begin with. Okay. But the Compton site would definitely have to stay. It's also, the radio shop has the main radio communications at that location. Plus it's a location of our EOC.
Right. Rich?
I guess, Chief, you've asked for 15 new positions, I guess, this year in the budget. What's your current vacancy? Do you have any vacant positions currently?
Well, we have a few that we're filling. We
right.
have 3 that we have to keep vacant to
A budget?
because of the budget, the 3 people we lost to the buyout. That's how we're repaying that through our budget, is by keeping those 3 vacant. But I'd like to be ready to fill those and any new positions you allow me to have as soon as July the 1st comes.
Why don't you explain why you, help understand why you think the new personnel are important. What is that going to mean for the public in terms of service level if you get the additional personnel?
Right now, we're working very hard to answer the phones, and the employees are having a hard time getting off, and the morale's going down. And of course, it's been that way for a while. But during our busiest times, then even on 911, they're having to hold for a little while. Even though we average out about 6 seconds for all our calls, some have to answer 20, 25, 30 seconds before we get to them on 911, and we really don't like that number. It needs to be, we need to answer all our 911 calls faster than that. And of course, 862-8600 stays on hold for a long time if we're really, really busy, up to 2 or 3 minutes sometimes.
Wayne, during a normal week, what are our busiest times?
Well, usually between 2 and 4 o'clock. Seems to be shift change and people going home, which a lot of times causes accidents. And then when we have an accident, we'll have 6, 8, 10, 15 people call, depending on where that accident is. We have to answer each one of those calls. Inclement weather will create real busy. And then the other shift is around midnight.
Talk a little bit about what happens to your operations and the impact on your operations when we open a new police precinct. Help us understand that a little bit.
Okay, when we open a new police precinct, first off, we had to have dispatchers for that. So that's going to take at least 5 FTEs because they have their own channel. And so they have to have a dispatcher that's plugged into the radio 24/7 every day of the year. You know, we have to get relief before they can even go to the restroom or go for their meal break. When you open a police precinct, the calls in that area are still going to be distributed about the same between that precinct and the other precinct. But you've added new detectives that are on the radio. You've added new flex teams, 3 different flex teams. So they're all working, and they all are on the radio and having to get information back and forth.
You've referenced the ECD board a couple of times. For the public watching, help us educate us on what that is and what its relationship is with ECC.
And I want to point out too that because of the metro government and the system we have, our ECD board is well funded because the metro government is taking up all the expense of the employees. The funds that you pay on your telephone bill, the 911 fee, 65 cents on a home phone goes to the ECD board. The dollar that you pay on your cell phone every month actually goes to the Tennessee ECD board, and they redistribute some of that money back to our local ECD board. And those funds are used to keep our equipment up to date, so we have the best equipment in the country, and they pay for the training, uniforms, everything that we use at ECC except for the salaries and benefits, which is still paid by the metro government.
All right.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for the report, and thanks you for the work you've done. I know how long ago it was that you were thinking about retirement, and I persuaded you to do this job, and you've done a really good job. I think you've really have stabilized and really given us an emergency communication center that we're very proud of, and you do very, very good work. And I know there are lots of challenges, and we'll analyze the budget and do the best we can. And let me thank you, and also thank all the employees for what they do for the city. It's a vital role for the city.
I have an excellent staff, and they make me look good sometimes.
That's good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.